Well, welcome back to Game Pending podcast, where we talk about board games, video games, D&D, movies, TV shows, anime, anything, all the like. We overanalyze it way too much, you know? So, welcome back to episode 3.
Trace. Yes, episode Trace.
Episode Trace. I'm Trejan. You've heard my voice twice now. What?
Trajan.
Did I say Trajan?
No, Trey.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah.
To my right, we have...
I'm Gage. Gage.
Across from me, we have...
We have Matt once more. I don't have 3 T's, but I have 2. That's pretty special.
And that way we have...
Owen is back.
Gasp.
Yes.
Yeah. We're all here. We're all here. We're
All right,
playing.
you know how this works from the past 2 episodes. We have a D8, and we assign ourselves numbers. Do we want to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
Actually, can I get 1 and 8?
Oh my god. Okay, fine.
I want to get
We're
1
doing
and 8.
this?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
doing
he's doing
Yeah.
this.
So he's got 1, 8. I'll have 2, 7. You'll have
I have
3, 6. And
3,
you'll have
4, 5.
4, 5.
You're the one with normal
Still
ones,
kinda
Owen.
All right. I hit you by.
I hate
6.
you all. I really do hate you all. Oh my god, that's so stupid. I hate you, Gage. Fun.
Well, you would have had it regardless.
5,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7, 8.
regardless.
Yeah, I
No.
was just thinking that.
Nah, if we didn't start with you, if we started with Trajan, we would have had it.
1, 2, 3.
I would have had it.
Yeah.
No, good.
If
Yeah.
we- yeah.
I haven't
Whatever.
hosted yet.
Anyway,
You
Anyway.
failed the role. Matt is host. Go.
I'm not being host next time. I accuse that right.
You
Actually,
want
that
to
would be a cool.
pull up.
But anyway,
Anyway.
Pull up what?
so yes, hi, welcome back. You have good old Matt hosting for the second time. Fantastic stuff, am I right? It's been a while, folks at home. It's been since episode 1. And we're on whole episode 3 now, so it's been a while since you heard me talk, I know.
We
But
have great recording schedules, so...
yeah, of course.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so my friends, both here, I have a question for you. What are your thoughts on board games? Now, I'm not just asking a general thing here.
They're great.
I want to be. That's a general thing. They're great. That's a general thing. But today, I had the thoughts to ask more about board games in particular. Particularly, what draws you to a board game in particular? Whether that be the mechanics behind it you find so enjoyable, the thematic aspects of the board game, say like board game like Bang set in the Wild West, where you're like, haha, I get to role play Wild West people, or like just the genre of it, you know, like what type of board game is it? Is it a longer term strategy like Catan, or is it more of a short form chaotic mess like something like Slamwich?
Oh,
Slamwich.
Oh, gee, that brings me back.
That's
Yeah,
going to be
Slam
something
Witches-
to play.
That's an
Yeah.
ancient game.
It's an ancient game from years past, but I wanted to get your thoughts
That-
on that. I can obviously go first, but I am host, so I'm going to force Gage to go first.
That's okay. I was actually prepared. Joke's on you.
Wasn't a joke.
I actually really... What draws me most to board games is deception-based games. So games like Secret Hitler, Codenames is kind of a deception-based game. Just a bunch of different games like that. I really enjoy playing these games because... What?
Well, Codenames isn't really... That's a team-based game.
Yeah, I
You're
know. I just...
Decepting your
I looked
players.
I looked over to the board games because all I could think of was Secret Hitler. But I know there's other... Oh, like Werewolf.
Yeah, Werewolf.
That's
Yeah,
a
One
deception
Night
game.
Werewolf is
One Night
also
Werewolf.
a deception
Bang.
game.
Coup.
Bang's
yeah.
a deception. Coup. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't list any
Codenames
of
is
these
like
games.
the only one out of that entire list.
To
that's
be
not
fair, you could be
deception-based.
that troll in Codenames. I know people at home probably don't know what Codenames is, but you could be that troll in Codenames that actively goes for the assassin to get their team to lose.
That would be actually kind of
Yeah.
funny. Then you're just a dick.
First team to get the assassin.
So, anyway, I love deception-based games because I really love deceiving my friends because it makes me feel like I'm more powerful than them.
Wow, hot take.
You
Just
know-
kidding.
That's not even a hot take, I'd say. That's pretty normal.
Really seem like
But
you're
it's just
kidding.
it's just really fun being able to work around a lot of things and just learn about people a bit more and learn how to read them and try to find out who's the bad guy or who's the good guy or who is the neutral guy. It's just really fun to have that sort of banter with your friends and it get kind of heated, but like in a joking way, hopefully. It's just, I think Secret Hitler is probably one of my favorites because of how nonchalant and just democratic it is.
You really wouldn't think. For those at home who have not played Secret Hitler, highly recommend you do that. It's a pretty simple game to pick up, but it's pretty much this game where, much like Gage said, it's deception. Everybody gets a secret role to begin. One person is the Führer, and the other person is a secret agent of the Führer. The secret agent does not know who the Führer is, if I'm not mistaken.
The secret agent doesn't know the Führer, but the Führer knows the secret agent.
Yes.
Okay.
That's for certain. There's different rules.
Yeah,
for
there's different
people.
rules for different amount of people, but that's a general gist of it, and everybody else is kind of...
Trying to catch the Führer.
Is it trying to catch the Führer / they're trying to pass liberal policies. And each round, the presidency, the chancellorship, and like their vice president or president and vice president is kind of elected sort of thing. And pretty much that person then chooses a VP. They choose 3 cards from a pile that are either communist, I believe, or authoritarian policies. Fascist policies. Fascist, yeah, that's the word for it. And the other are liberal ones. And the people who are not the Führer or his underling are trying to get enough of the liberal things passed to win, while meanwhile the Führer and his underling are trying to get enough fascists to win / have it at a point where they've won enough of those fascist cards to then proceed to get in power, both with Führer as the chancellor position and then his underling in the other seat of power, something like that. Very general gist of it. More rules to go into it, but it's such a deceptively simple game.
Yeah, complicated at the same time.
Yeah.
So my favorite thing about it is the house rules that we have.
Oh God.
I'm not sure if you were going to say that.
What? No, I was just mimicking your movements.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
The house rules that we have are, if you place a liberal policy, you have to come up with a great policy that's great for the general welfare of people.
Like free cotton candy.
Yeah, or
yeah.
apparently slavery, like my brother said.
Yeah.
And, that makes me very concerned. I'm very concerned about that.
That's a very easily concerning.
I love the.
And then
I don't know.
slavery.
Oh my God.
For liberal? Really?
And then for the fascist stuff, we like coming up with bad things, like all the puppies die, or kind of just retcons all the liberal things. It's like free
it's a lot.
school. Just kidding. You're in debt.
They say
Sounds
like
America.
They say like, oh hey, free food to your pets, but you can't have like pets like dogs or cats. No, that's illegal. You can have llamas though or something. Llamas are pretty cool.
Llamas are kind of cool.
We get
actually.
dumb. And
All right.
honestly, that's the highlight of that game.
Yeah, because I love Secret Hitler so much.
Yeah, but one of the highlights of the game is our little home rule that we've come up with making the policies, because you never know what people are going to come up with.
Like slavery.
Yep.
Or
Also,
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Also,
not slavery.
Yeah. Also because of that, it leads to you not really being. It makes it harder for you to tell, is this person being serious about their deception, or if they're just being a total goober for the night. You know,
Goober.
Or a
goober.
poobine.
Poobine.
No,
That's an inside joke, sorry.
not from the Bo Burnham special team side, but
But like Bang is a deception game where the outlaws are trying to kill the sheriff and the sheriff's trying to kill the outlaws. But everyone knows who the sheriff is, but no one knows who the other outlaws are. So you're constantly like, I'm an outlaw, you an outlaw, and you're like, yes, and I'm like, I don't know if I can trust you, and you don't know if you could trust me, and so we have to kind of work together, but also be weary of each other because there's a renegade in the mix that's
by
doing
himself
things.
trying to kill everybody.
So it's a very cool, different deceptive game.
I actually want to tell a quick story about that.
Yeah.
I played this with my family, and that was fun. My
I
mom,
love Bang.
I was the sheriff, and little did I know, but my mom was the deputy. We first started playing, I told her how the rules work. I'm like, if you're the deputy, you don't attack the sheriff, and outlaws want to kill the sheriff, blah, blah, blah. She's like, okay, I understand. So first round gets in, she's like, I'm going to punch you. And I'm like, why? She's like, I don't know, you're in range and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, punch me. So she punches me, and the next round I annihilate her, and she's like, "Why'd you do that? I was your deputy." And I'm like, "Why did you punch me? You're my deputy. Why the hell did you punch me?"
Well, I've done that.
To get on the side of the outlaws, make them
Exactly.
think, oh yeah, and then have deception between them.
She continuously attacked me. It wasn't like sequential rounds.
Oh,
it was
the way-
more to it.
oh.
But she punched me first, and then she attacked me again, and then I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, the way you said it sounded like it was
Well,
round
yeah.
one punch, round two. You
Well,
went,
round
Yeah.
one, it was a punch. I think there was one round in between where she
Yeah.
kind of like just poked me a little bit again, and I'm like, "I'm gonna kill you. Like,
Yeah.
you're obviously bad."
Yep.
And no, my mom was not trying to deceive me.
But that's a deception game that I love because
It is a lot of fun.
it's a gunslinger. Who doesn't love being a Wild West gunslinger?
We played. Well, let's see. What was it?
Hiding
It was
behind
like
a barrel.
3 or 4. I don't remember how many years ago it was now. But we had like 10 or 11 people playing at once at one point.
Yeah,
It
that was
just
a
like-
while ago.
I think upwards I've played Bang at least with 8, and I feel it gets to be a very long game after
does.
that point.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm personally like I enjoy like shorter, like snappier games or thing. Like in the Deception, again, we all enjoy Deception games quite a bit. Last one I kind of want to talk about though is One Night Werewolf. That's kind of been one of my new favorite ones that we've been picking up.
That one is a lot of fun. I enjoy that one quite a bit.
It's
it's much better than the standard werewolf.
Yeah, it's one of those games where each round is kind of like this new thing with everybody getting new roles and whatnot, and then you have to talk amongst yourselves about how these roles impacted, like if we swapped roles, if we trust this person and whatnot, and kind of unraveling it's less so a deception game. It is a deception game through and through, but it has that kind of puzzle element to it. Like you're taking the pieces of what people have said, like a detective story, and kind of placing it together, like, okay, you're the drunk, and you switched in the middle. The seer said that middle card right there should have been a villager of some sort, so you should be clear if we are trusting, like, Trajan the seer.
But the difference is, 1 to 3 people are bullshitting you and are totally saying that they want.
Yeah.
That they're, I'm the drunk and I did this and stuff, and they're actually the werewolf and did not do that.
Hypothetically,
So you're piecing together a puzzle, and 1 to 3 of the puzzle pieces are complete illusion. They're not even
could be anyway, because the entire the whole thing is you get sent out a card and that's your roll, and then during the night phase when everybody has their eyes closed, you do said roll. One of them is werewolf. The whole goal is to vote out the werewolf or where we think the werewolf out. None of us could even be werewolf sometimes. It could just be stuck in the center where we have to be like, do we vote out this potentially innocent man and let the werewolf go by? Or do we all try and do the safe vote in the center? And we could be wrong, we could be right. At the end of the day, we've done our best, and I think I like those sorts of games quite a bit.
My favorite thing about werewolf is the fact that you're never out.
Yes.
Everyone is always playing.
Yeah,
That's
the one.
One night.
That's the one problem that original Werewolf had was it was a multi-night thing where one person died and then you woke up and deliberated what would happen. Which when I lived in North Carolina, that's the first time I played that game. It's a ton of fun. It's really good because you can literally play that version anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Whereas One Night Werewolf, you really need to have a few people standing over a table because standing is just typically better because when you have to move like certain cards and other people, like the swapper in the One Night Werewolf game switches the 2 roles of the other people, but they still do their role. It's a whole thing. It's one of my favorite cards because it just causes chaos.
Yeah.
People are very perceptive when it comes to that stuff. Like they can hear the slightest movements. By people, I mean me. And
You earmuffs.
Yeah.
That's the solution right
Yes.
That's why I like when we stand though because
that's why I make
the
a bunch.
viewers can hear this this chair.
That's why I kind of dance around and make a bunch of noise so that it kind of drowns out other noises for people.
Typically why we play music as well when we're playing that
or
game.
tapping on the table.
Yeah.
Or singing very bad parody songs, songs from the 80s.
Yeah,
I also
course.
constantly am like dancing whenever we're playing music.
Oh, God,
And then that way when the people like wake up and do their turn,
I
they just see me and I'm just like slapping my
Flossing.
knees or like shaking my butt backwards or some shit. It's funny.
Or opening your eyes and seeing Dylan floss across the table.
Oh god. I suppose in this way also another element that kind of draws us to a certain board game is its chaotic element, would you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Like
sure.
the amount of idiocy we can pack into one thing where we're all just goofing off. I think that's a definite draw. But I haven't really heard too much from you, Trey.
Well, because honestly, if we're gonna talk about like what's our favorite kind of like genre.
We're
we're
sticking to one genre.
We're talking. But honestly, like our friend group is just majorly into deception games. My favorite.
What are some of your favorite
My
genres?
favorite genre, I would say, is probably deck building games.
Ooh, all right.
Because you pretty much you're set with every deck building game is very similar right in the beginning until you get into the fancy cards. In the beginning, you typically have a buying card, which like gives you like purchasing power, and then you have either movement or attack depending on the game.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite ones that we have is Clank. Clank is a dungeon delving game, and you have to be careful about. It's so much to explain, but it's so much fun, and I highly recommend it. And I think there's an expansion at Purple Dragon, and I need to go get it.
Yeah.
Because I really love Clank.
Clank also is one of my favorite games because it offers something really unique. Is that sound mechanic?
Yes.
It's such a cool way to handle it.
So there certain things that you get in Clank gives you or cards that you get that you play, which is it's literally says a deck building adventure. When you put it down, it gives you this awesome thing, but it says add +2 Clank.
You made noise.
Oh.
You made noise. So whenever a dragon card or something comes up where he wakes up, you have to take all the collective Clank, which are these little wooden cubes corresponding colors to your player, and you have to put them in a bag, shake up the bag, and then draw a certain amount depending on the round.
And so the more noise you made, the more cubes you have in the bag.
And you have a life total on the board. And if you go up to 10, you die.
It's such a unique and cool way to do it.
You can pull Clank off by healing. You can. There's so many other things you can do.
So the more Clank you have, generally, the more in danger you're going to be of bigger threats because you're making loud yourself.
But typically, you have really good stuff in your deck because of it.
Yeah.
So there's
risk
give and
reward.
take. Yeah,
Exactly.
big risk and reward. And
It's
then
really fun.
there's that one has more of a movement. It is not so much combat as much as it is movement
There's
and
minor,
purchasing. And, just trying to be quiet.
Kind of reminds me of
That's a great game. We should try that.
I want to play
What
Clank
was
again
that?
soon.
Ascension. Ascension was the game.
Oh, that's
right?
that's a deck builder.
Oh yeah, that
that-
Ascension is another really good one. That one's a lot of fun.
You guys have that, don't you?
Yes,
Yeah, it's right
that
there.
is.
I also
right there.
have
Dreamscape.
another. Yeah, I remember that one because there's there's factions, kind of like Magic the Gathering. I've never played Magic the Gathering myself, so it's kind of Magic the Gathering light in a sense, where it's like, oh, okay, cool. There's these factions. There's certain ways to play that these certain cards team up. Remind me a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I grew up on Yu-Gi-Oh. Very into it. Not so much anymore now. My brother's still into it, but
yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can play Ascension as well. It's just
we have
it's
two
insane.
of the expansions. We have Dreamscape and Temple of
Dreamscape's
Life.
definitely my favorite.
And Temple of Life. I like Dreamscape personally. That's my favorite. But that's another deck builder with a fantastic auxiliary mechanic in the form of the dreams.
Yeah, I think the thing about deck building games that really works for them definitely has to come with the versatility. Each time you play, you have a different route, and it can potentially be blocked off depending on who you're playing with. If they gun for it now, and you have to kind of be on your feet.
Well, if you recognize that, I know Trajan's going for constructs, so I'm gonna buy that really powerful construct just to deny it.
Yeah,
We actually had a time we played this before we moved into the apartment. It was when your brother was still in town and he didn't go to basic training, where I had this card that, because they're in the middle there, cards come out of a deck and those are the ones that you can buy, similar to literally every deck building game.
Gasp.
So, but there was a line and it was all constructs, and I was doing a construct build for that game, and I had a card when you played it, which was very expensive, but when you played it, you got all constructs on the field.
Yep.
And it was, I think, all but one, and I think 6 go out at a time.
Something like that.
Yeah. So I got 5 constructs right away, and each of those constructs count towards points towards the end of the game to see who wins. And I remember Owen just had a really good turn, his brother just had a really good turn. I think we were playing with someone else as well.
Noah, probably.
Noah.
It could have been Noah, or could have been me. And
But I played it, and Owen's just like, yeah, that was good. I get all constructs. He goes, oh, fuck. And I literally cleared the board except for one card, and I was like, that was amazing, and thank you.
Deck builders are
Thank you very
fantastic.
much.
DC deck building is fun too.
Yeah.
We should definitely get that one because it's got so many different DC characters in there.
So it's probably similar to what's
Legendary.
It's
Legendary.
It is. It is very similar to that actually.
Where is it?
But it has a different setup. Has more of a shop. Setup instead of kind of like draw.
Yeah. I'm willing to try it. Absolutely.
100%. They probably have it at Purple Dragon. If not, we can order it from
For those at home though, I do for if you're interested in deck building or some of the themes we've mentioned, I think a good beginner one probably would be a game called Dominion.
Yep.
It's another card building game, but unlike the other ones, it's kind of like you choose what kind of decks you want in it. So you can choose how complicated or how simple you want it to be. Kind of get used to what the cards do, get used to the rule set. It's generally faster paced, I feel, than a lot of these other deck building games, or it can be. So if you are ever interested, highly recommend Dominion for getting yourself into it.
It also doesn't have any tertiary mechanics like the Dreamscape.
Yeah.
Or like fighting heroes like in Legendary. There's no tertiary. It's just buying power and fighting things. That's it. There's no other
Very
thing.
simple.
It's a very simple, fast game. It's great.
So Legendary is also it's a Marvel deck building theme.
Yeah, we have to fight villains, and if they escape, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I really want to say this one board game that I played in high school. Yeah, definitely high school. It's called Tales of Arabian Nights. It segued me.
Familiar.
Yeah.
It segued me into D&D, and I played this with my chemistry teacher at the time, Zach, and it was so fun because it's exactly like D&D, pretty much in a way. But
It's
there's
another like tabletop role play.
yeah, there's status effects. There's a whole book of stuff you could do. You could go to different places, travel the entire Middle East, and play different characters. You could even play as Aladdin. It's actually just really, really fun. And it's a great segue to D&D, helping you understand role-playing games and
Yeah.
the mechanics of that stuff. And it's not exactly like it, but it's
Similar
definitely
enough.
it's such a fun.
I feel
game.
that's a good like topic for a future video, kind of like games that can kind of help you get into the D&D mindset, or like other role plays that have, like, because I know Gage and I have mentioned it before, but we also he at one point dungeon mastered a zombie survival-esque game. I was one of the players of which we won't go any stories there, but kind of like any other RPG, like
Games
Pathfinder, for
Yeah.
example, is pretty popular one that's not exactly 5e.
I played Baldur's Gate as a kid with my dad.
Yeah, no, that would be a great one to mention.
The
'cause
OG Baldur's Gate, stuff like
I
that.
feel like I can learn a lot.
All right, that's next
But
episode.
maybe not next episode, but episode down the future. I already have those worked in.
There's a lot of role play ones that we could talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of role play, and for the sake of this video, we're mostly going to talk about more readily available, less role play intensive board games.
So many mechanics, genres.
One more I would like to, since we're talking about like segues into D&D, or ones that we really like.
I was going to get to it too.
Yes,
I think I know.
the Red Dragon Inn
Yep.
is one
yeah.
of the greatest board games ever created.
That is
Because
so
it's
fun.
simply, the concept of it is you just finished an adventure with your party, as in D&D style, Dungeons and Dragons, and you get back to your favorite inn, and you sit around and you play a game of like cards, betting, whatever.
It has drinks
It's
and-
kind of like the lore, and you have drinks. Pretty much the health is you either get hit a bunch by your friends, or you drink too much because of your friends.
And then there's a third option in which if you run out of money, you are kicked out of the bar, therefore kicked out of the game.
It's so fun because they have character-based decks in that game, and you really, like, all of us just end up getting into those characters.
It's kind of this hodgepodge of everything we kind of just talked about. As the theming of Dungeons and Dragons, which we're all really huge fans of, obviously, as we play on a weekly basis. Two, it has that deck building kind of thing where you're not building a deck per se, but you are choosing a deck, and those cards really determine a lot of your actions.
Yeah.
And then three, kind of deception, because you don't know who the heck is going to target you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good
And
mixture of
chaos.
chaos. Yes.
And for chaos.
My favorite thing about it is not only is it a segue to D&D, it's also a segue for alcoholism. Because it could be a great drinking game.
It is a real
It is a drinking game.
It's one I've been wanting to make the drinks based in the cards that you can get in the game.
That'd be fantastic
Yes.
and terrifying.
One
Yes.
is definitely going to involve Fireball, because it's
The dwarven
Yeah, the
dwarven
dragon,
fire
and
with
there's
dragon,
also the
dwarven-
dragon
yeah.
breath
Yeah,
one.
dragon
And there's also
breath,
regular.
yeah.
It's
That's a
is
fantastic.
I mean, it's
one of
another-
you is just going to have to drink soap, if that's if we're actually going to go straight
Straight
into
into
the
it.
whole, like...
Or dirty dishwater.
Dirty dishwater, yeah.
Admittedly, Red Dragon Inn to some extent requires a little bit of like going with the flow role play wise. I think another fantastic game that even gets it a bit easier for people again is Munchkin.
Oh my god, yes!
And
That's so stupid.
Again, a lot of similar elements of what we have just said. Particularly some more so than others, but it has a lot of deck building with what you do, a lot of strategy. You don't know who to trust,
it's absolutely
and
deck
people are always kind of out for you. But then it has way more chaos. It's kind of like a parody of some sort of D&D, but in the best way, like a love letter, like a Weird Al Yankovic parody of a song.
Munchkin's a Weird Al Yankovic parody.
It really is.
Out of our entire friend group, I would say Owen and I have known each other the longest. Obviously.
Oh yeah,
I think that we've talked about that before in our intros. However, Munchkin's the one thing that would probably ruin our friendship if we played it too often. Because for whatever, I've won once, and that is because of our friend Ida.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
we happen
she
to
fed
both be
you,
clerics,
yeah.
and then there was this one card that can make us win. But
That was upsetting.
Yeah.
it is the one game that, for whatever reason, I don't even know when it started,
I don't know.
but Owen and I only target each other and screw each other over in
Neither
that
of us
game.
will ever win.
We will never win if we're both playing the game at the same time.
But you know what? We're having a blast.
We are having
that
a blast.
game is a fantastic.
So chaotic.
Figuratively and literally.
It's such a
The
fun
way
game.
the game is structured, only one person will ever win, like most games.
For the most part.
yeah,
Because
there's-
Ian and I technically both won at the same time because we were clerics.
Yes,
and you got
you
the-
can if you
yeah.
get the same amount of points, level up points at the end.
But there's that divine intervention thing or card,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
that
you're right.
Even if you're at room 9, if you're there, you
This
win.
can be the winning.
Well, yeah,
game.
no, but here's what I'm getting at. It's one of those games where, because of that, where generally there's only going to be one person, when that person reaches, like, the precipice,
Yeah.
the edge of winning, everybody immediately teams up, because
Yeah.
they're like, we can't let him win, or we
Yeah.
can't let them win, or her win, or whatever. It's just, like, it's one of those things that's like, oh my god, like, it's... The chaos really comes then, because everybody's throwing out random cards to make the most absurd monster for
Deus
them to
Ex
play.
Deus Ex Machine Gun.
Deus
God
Ex Monster,
smites. God smites the monster. No one wins. No one gets any gold, and the combat ends.
Yeah.
And
You tried
done.
every other.
It's-
You tried every other method. And you're like, God says no.
No, yeah.
It's just so nice sneaking up to the top, only
Oh,
to
yeah.
have your friends look over at you and start pummeling you back down to
Yeah.
level
Yeah.
1.
Wait,
That's
how'd
my
you get to
favorite
9?
thing.
Come
yeah,
back
they're like,
here.
what are you doing? And then they just start throwing all the monsters at you, and you're like, well, I guess I'll die.
Yeah, 'cause
I mean, you will.
when you fight monsters, like after you pull them out of a deck, you can fight that monster, and like sometimes you can benefit yourself. But I think the coolest aspect of that game, feature of that game, is you can
The ally.
ally with someone to give them also treasures and like boost yourself, and it's really
You're
cool.
brokering a deal.
Yeah.
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 However, the other people can then also throw cards that help the monster and
Yep.
make it the most ridiculous thing possible.
You can actually do it to yourself in theory.
Yes.
I could join you as your ally
Yeah.
and then benefit the monster
Yeah.
to make us lose.
Or to get you more gear.
Yeah, or to get you better
or
gear.
that.
Yep.
All I know is we've had like a level 2 chicken become the most terrifying
Terrifying.
monstrosity imaginable. That's like. It goes like well over leveled like 20 and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's really high in monsters, but you can buff a certain monster so high. Like this level 2 chicken was like a threat to high end level
Yeah.
players by the end.
Or the time, I think it was my dad, but it might have been my brother, lost to a potted plant.
Oh
I think we did it to your dad.
I think it was my dad. He
Because your
lost to
dad
a
was
potted
like,
plant.
"Oh yeah, I'm doing so great," and we kind of just all looked. This is the one time that you and I actually helped each other. We were just like, "No,"
No.
and we just laid everything down and made it like a 30 plus
yeah.
monster where you had to have an over a 30 power.
And it was a potted plant.
Jeez.
And nobody wanted to help.
Nope.
Yeah.
He
Nobody
Nobody
lost
wanted
to
to
a potted
help.
plant.
Rip in peace.
Yeah.
Once your
ripping
dad gets that
ripping
hot-headed
plants.
ego,
Oh, I know.
the
That game,
game,
that game is fantastic.
Oh,
It's chaos.
so good.
It's D&D. It's
Yeah.
you can randomly
Fun.
change genders.
Yeah, the Freudian slippers. Yeah.
Change race.
Yeah,
change
randomly
class,
change
it's great.
races. Yeah.
It's
Innuendos.
It's one of those games where I feel you can definitely play it before D&D to kind of get into it, but also at the same time I feel you'll get a lot of the humor if you
Yeah.
do play D&D
Oh, yeah.
prior.
Yeah.
So it's really up to you ultimately if you check it out and want to play it, sort of thing. But with that in mind, obviously we've just been talking about like board games we play with each other. I was in particular wondering what are some of either mentioned or not mentioned. What are some of the favorite board games we've played with one another?
Ooh.
I have one in mind myself.
Go ahead.
So I will start if I gives you
Go
a chance.
right ahead.
The one I'm particularly thinking of is not on the shelf actually, but a game our friend Ida, we're bringing her up again because she is expert board gamer. She found this game a few years ago. It's called The Haunting on the House on the Hill.
I don't think I ever played it with you
I
guys.
don't
I
know
want
if
it
that's
so
the
bad.
I don't know if that's the exact name of it,
House-
but
I think
House
it's like
on
Haunting,
Messenger after.
Haunting
House on
Hill
the Haunted
House.
Hill.
Haunting on Hill House. It's one. It's
Yeah,
one of
something
those.
to look it up,
If you search it up, it's a green box with kind of a creepy yellow tinted house. They're searching it up right now, so that'll be fun.
Can't spell.
We'll find it out soon enough, but it's a kind of a mixture. Oh, did you find it?
No, I just realized that's a Shirley Jackson novel. Is the
Oh, I
Haunting
thought you were gonna say it was
Hill
a
House.
Shirley Temple.
Yeah, Shirley
skit
Temple. Animal crackers.
in
All
my
right.
soup. But
Betrayal on the House on the Hill.
Betrayal on the House
Betrayal,
on the
yeah.
Hill.
Yep.
This is a very fun board game for like up to 6 people.
I
It's
think
one.
Achievement Hunter played this too.
It's so fun.
I want
It's
it.
It's one of those games where everything is going to be different depending on what has happened, what rooms you have unlocked. It's very, like, if you've ever played a roguelike game, it's that in board game form. And, like, you're basically a group of people going to investigate this haunted house, and you're exploring it, and words.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you all are kind of on the same team. We're all just searching for it. But eventually you'll find these rooms that have, like, omens in it where creepy things happen that can either, like, lower your own sanity or lower your stats. And if any of your stats reach 0, your character just dies.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, like, you don't have any more dexterity, you die. If your mind goes completely insane and reaches 0, you die. Or you could fail a check for these spooky events. And each time these omens happen, the omen meter goes up. So if you find a room with said omen, you have to roll a set amount of dice, each of which with an omen thing. And if you roll below the amount of omens that have been fully found, so say you find like 5 rooms full of omen, you roll all these dice and you only get 4 insignia, the event would then proceed to begin. And this is what the main game is going to be. And based on the actions that have happened, you get this kind of different scenario where, say, in one of your friends goes completely insane, like mad with power, and like starts to open this vampire cult, in which bats all start to swarm in and attack their former friends, and they are now against the rest of the party.
It's a two-phase game.
Yeah, it's a two-phase game. But also, there's just some ones where, like, oh, hey, like, the house is lifted up by a giant bird, and it's up to you and your friends to all trying to wait to escape before it drops the house and you die. Yep. So it's one of those things where it can be, like, you go into it not knowing what to expect. You go into it either thinking, oh, somebody's going to betray our friend group right here, and we have to go against them, which is, oh, boy. Or, oh, we all have to find a way to escape, and maybe not all of us will escape, or maybe we will. Such a...
It's unique because every game is completely... It's not completely unique because there's a lot of games that do it, but every game is completely unique. The house will always have a completely different layout.
I think I played this like once, and I don't even think we got to finish the game.
Yeah,
or something.
The house will always have a completely different layout. What scenario you get in the second phase will always be slightly different. The locations of key objects will always change, and so it's a fresh experience every time you play it. And that is one thing that draws me into the game. Is because speaking of mechanics and stuff, is I love games that do that, that have diversity, and it's not always the same game.
That kind of goes into talk about D&D again. Like you hate being the single character that's like, I'm gonna hit this.
I want options.
You want stuff that's gonna do crazy.
I want options. Yeah.
But sometimes you also want those simple things, you know?
Because sometimes those are the goofiest ones too. It's the ones that are so simple.
Yeah. But in this case, this game definitely has been one of... we've only played it a handful of times. It's a very long game, and also due to the pandemic, we've been separate from our other friends in the friend group who live further out in state, not going to mention where.
So they're going further.
Yeah, so it's kind of been hard to obviously play this online, but it's a very fun, diverse game. And you can also choose a different character each time, so that also kind of helps with the fact of making it different each time. You could play somebody with like really high dex and strength, but the worst stats in mental.
I'm Ox Bellows.
Oh yeah, you want to do Ox Bellows.
Ox Bellows.
You also can play like a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the fact they can
turn evil.
Evil is very scary. It's like the Stephen King's The Shining. Like the kids in the hallway.
Professor Longfellow. / the priest. Because every character's got 2.
Oh god, the priest is usually the one to go mad. And some characters have actually preference if they're played for if they're chosen to be the traitor sort of thing. So if you choose this character and you get this scenario, oh hey, you're more likely than this person who has the lowest amount of sanity. Yeah. Which is super cool.
Last time I played that was about 2 years ago because I played it with Zach because I got it for him for his birthday. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, that was so fun. We need to get that.
I want it.
It's about $50.
We'll look into it. I've actually been wanting to go to... we're going to Grotto later anyway, so we can look at it.
I don't know if they have it there. They might.
We'll see.
Purple Dragon's got more board games than they do.
But yeah, no, it's so fun. And I guess I'll talk about my favorite board game, which isn't really a board game. I just really love Mafia. And I know it's kind of the same thing as Werewolf and everything, but I just really love the storytelling. And when I was in high school, I played this a lot with my chemistry teacher and a bunch of different people. And he was so great at storytelling, and it was great to see all these different people come together that wouldn't normally hang out and just join in for this story about how people are killing people and all this deception and all that fun stuff. It's a great kind of bonding thing.
I never played it.
I think
Mafia.
it's
It's werewolf.
Dude, you've played
Mafia.
TTT and
Mafia
Werewolf.
is werewolf, but more nuanced. I feel because there are more roles generally. Like there's the mafioso,
Yeah.
who actually does the killing. The Godfather, who's the one who tells you which one to kill.
Well, we haven't used like half the roles in One Night Werewolf.
We've used majority of the roles. The
We've
only
never
we-
used the Mason. We've never used. We did
We
have
have the Mason.
Yeah, we do.
We've used the minion before.
Yeah, I love the Minion.
The minion's rare, but we
started using
we've
the
used
doppelganger too.
Yeah,
That was
doppelganger. Yeah, but anyway, that's
Yeah.
One Night Werewolf. But we've played a majority of those roles. I feel at least with
Yeah, you're right. Now I think about it, the only one we haven't used is Mason.
Yeah.
with Mafia. There's kind of like the long term werewolf game where there's like the Doctor, the Cupid, the look, but there's more like roles like Lookout and stuff like that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially if you have a great storyteller, just telling a story that is very cohesive and like so very climactic, and that's what mainly that's why it's my favorite game, because I have those memories. I mean, there's a bunch of other games that I love to do and that are a bit more complicated or have more things to it rather than just a set of playing cards. But there's just something about this that is so simple yet so immersive and awesome.
I remember us playing this at STEM Academy, which was a thing
Yeah.
for our old college. It was a summer program in which incoming STEM-focused students would have like this kind of summer camp thing where they'd get to do some fun activities, stay on campus, kind of get adjusted. Gage and I were RPCs, resident program coordinators, so we did nighttime activities, and we did Mafia a couple times, both with our fellow employees and the students, and it was a pretty fun time, I'd say.
I made a whole map having like different character comps because I was so bored that summer.
I remember.
That was, I think I might still have that.
I've never actually like played, but every time we play like Werewolf or I explain it to someone that hasn't played yet, they're like, "Oh, it's like Mafia," and I'm like, "See, I keep hearing that,
Yeah.
but I've never actually played it."
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna say yes.
The other one is Town of Salem. That comes up a lot.
Yeah,
Town
like,
of Salem.
Yeah,
I have heard
as
that
an
one a couple
example.
times too. Yes.
that one's okay.
Town
never
of Salem
played it.
was really good, and this is a video game. It's still up, by the way, but it was really good back when, like, it feels weird to say, early 2010s sort of thing, where the internet was still evolving. It's more of like a Flash game sort of thing. It's not Flash, actually, but it kind of has that vibe to it. But it has, like, kind of the Mafia roles, everything going on. Unfortunately, it's kind of hampered by the fact it's only online, and people online aren't exactly... They're either really try-hard or really troll.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's no happy in between.
No. But yeah.
My thing with mechanics that I'm always drawn to is resource management. Games that force you to have a limited something and you have to plan out what you're doing with it. I love games that make me think and plan ahead. Examples include Catan, Settlers of Catan.
100% win rate.
Yeah, shut
Yeah.
up. We're not going into that. Champions of Midgard is another big one that you have a limited set of characters that you have to move around the map to collect your resources to use, and you're very limited in what you use. Those are really kind of like the two big ones that we use for resource management. We have King's Dilemma, but we haven't really tried it yet.
Yeah, we're still in
yeah.
testing phases.
And stuff.
We gotta find time
Yeah.
for it because that's like what does it say? It's like a
4
minimum
game,
of like
isn't it?
4 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
That's a lot.
I'm gonna look at it. Hold on.
But yeah, no.
I
So
love
resource management games. What's one we've played in particular with you that you'd say is probably one of your favorites?
Actually, to be honest, Red Dragon can be considered a resource manager because you got to manage your gold, you got to manage your, and so I love mechanics that force me to pause and go, this really isn't the greatest decision, but I really need to take the risk. So, and stuff like that, and
Also, Coup.
yeah, coup is resource management and stuff. And is it worth the lie to risk one of my 2 cards because you only have 2 guys and 2 life basically, and so that's really cool. Munchkin, you have a lot of resource management in there. And Munchkin with, do I throw this potion on this bad guy or do I save it for the other guy? We have 2 people at level 9. Do I waste everything now to stop him, but potentially open the window for the other level 9 guy? Do I?
Yeah.
So like, I love games that force me to think, which a lot of our games fit multiple genres of. But the two big ones that I can think of are Champions of Midgard and Settlers of Catan, which I both.
But you have the with your family and
Yeah.
some family friends that you guys literally get together and play Catan like
regularly.
at least once a month, maybe
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
Just to do that, it's usually like your break from D&D.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So-
And we love that game where because
It is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I never had the time to come and play it
Alec?
again.
Yeah.
My brother was really big into it to the
Yeah.
point where like we got the Traveler set of it, but I was like the young kid who really never liked it that much. It's fun. It's a fun
Yeah.
game, but it's one of those ones I never really attached to. So it's always interesting seeing people who enjoy this game, enjoy like the mechanics of it, kind of
I think the crazy thing about it is
gush about it.
It can end in like 1 to 2 hours, or it can end 3 days from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the
Yeah.
craziest things about
That's a
Catan.
super
The other thing
variable
I love
time.
about it is the idea of it's about conquering the world without fighting
Yeah.
anyone. It's
Yeah.
conquer the world through economics.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because so many games are fight, kill each other, yay, backstab with Munchkin and stuff. Whereas this is an indirect competition game,
Yeah.
which is another concept I love, indirect competitions. And so this is where you aren't able to directly influence someone, but you can still kind of, all right, I'm going to build a road here because it screws you over, but also gives me wood and I need it.
It gives you
And,
potential access to this path later as well.
Exactly. And so I love that kind of thing where you have a game that forces you to make choices both with your resources, but also you have to keep track of your opponent's resources and what they're going for. Like I said earlier with the deck builders, Trejan going for constructs. I know that, and there's a really strong construct that would tip him over the edge. I might want to buy that first, even though I'm delaying what I want for a turn.
Yeah.
But games that force you to make choices, that's what I love doing, is stuff like thinking. I love.
You don't want to be
being able
brain dead. You want
Yeah.
to have some involvement in it. Yeah.
Then again, brain dead games can be fun too.
That's what we were saying.
Because Monster Mayhem. It's
Monster
such-
Mayhem, yeah, that's a lot of fun. I think it's Dungeon
Such-
Mayhem, but it's the Monster Edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a great game, and it's mindless.
Good stuff. Yeah. Trajan, since you're the kind of like last one, do you have any games you want to talk about?
I'd say, like,
Or-
he mentioned it. I think my all-time favorite is because it is competition-based, but you don't really fight each other, is Champions of Midgard.
Yes.
It's very resource management, which I do like. And I struggle with Catan because there's not a lot of, like, extra stuff to do.
Yeah.
It's, you have these 4 things that you need to get to build these things.
Yeah.
It's like, it is fun. I've played it once, and I won. And that's why I keep bugging him about
because
saying
my
how-
brother
I had a
fed
pocket
you.
Evan. Oh well.
Yeah, you had a pocket
But I still have
Evan.
100% win rate.
Yeah.
Technically, the stats stick. But no, Champions of Midgard. We actually, like, in the box we have one of the smaller notebooks, like the one you use for your D&D character, and it's just keeping track of who's won every single time. And
And
we've
the
had
high
a double
score.
win at one point.
And the high score.
Yeah, it's the highest score of who's won every single time.
Yeah.
So there's like certain things that give you points at the end.
Yeah.
It's very similar to Clank, except it's not a deck builder.
Yeah.
It's you have these little what they call meeples. I think. They're these little wooden people. You only have 4, and you can buy your 5th one in the game. But you pretty much every turn you pick a place to go, and it could be like I pick this card to get 2 gold, or I pick this
The
area,
workshop.
or
Yeah.
the workshop. It's just there's a lot of stuff to it, and I can't really explain it.
Yeah,
all in
with
one.
how short the podcast.
We also haven't played it in a long time, and I haven't wanted to play it again.
I
But,
have been too. Yeah.
we got an expansion for it, which added a little bit more to it.
Giants.
Yeah, the giant. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
giants, and then there's the new combat as well with the archery
the
and stuff.
archery. Yep.
But yeah, I'd say it's probably one of my favorite ones because it is competitive, but you don't fight
It's
each other.
Indirect
and- yeah.
competition.
Indirect
resource
competition.
management.
Yeah.
It's right up our alleys.
You also still kind of have to work together because if you don't fight, what is it, like the ogre or the troll
Yeah.
or something, it goes on a rampage and everyone gets
Blame.
a blame, which
Yeah.
it
Negative
is a
points.
negative points towards the end of it. Which you can get rid of those eventually.
Yeah, or pass them to other people, which is always fun.
Yeah.
You can be like,
But
no,
I-
you.
That's like my personal like favorite game, but like right after that is any game. Coup is definitely one of my favorites.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I've always
Yeah.
loved that one, so we got that. And One Night Werewolf I think was one of my
Yeah.
big games that I kind of introduced to everybody when we had the original Werewolf,
Yeah.
and then we saw One Night Werewolf, and we're
Yeah.
like, we're getting this because it's way better.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite types of games would definitely be like the deck building, obviously
Yes.
for genre based, but like more of the when there's characters that you play, and then what is that?
Keep on.
Well,
Sorry.
you're good. It's more as when there's like characters to play that they have decks or whatever, and then you just like get into the character, and all of our friends start getting into those characters. Yeah, those are just kind of personally my more favorite ones.
Yeah, character-based.
Yeah.
Character-based ones where we get to goof around.
Well, it's because just the D&D and the role-playing aspect.
Yeah.
Bang is another example that's a classic that we go back to, but you play a character in that.
Yeah.
And stuff.
I kind of want to shift gears a bit here, gents. I know we're getting later on, so I want to have like one final kind of last question. Because we've been talking about a lot of games, what we like in them, mechanic-wise, theme-wise, different genres, chaotic energy, whatnot. But this one's a bit more interesting. A lot of these games we've been talking have been very varying in terms of length. Catan and Midgard, as you were saying, can be either very short or very long games.
No, they're pretty much all.
I think the average time for Champions of Midgard is like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
They're both long.
What I'm getting at is they're generally long, but they can be short. Or we talk about games like One Night Werewolf, where it's only like one night, very short, about 8 minutes. I was wondering your guys' opinions. What length of game would you say is ideal for you?
It really varies depending on my mood, but for the most part, I tend to favor the longer form games like Catan and Champions because I love those games and the ability. And it's kind of like my same problem with battle royale games and video games is I love setting up things and planning for the future, and knowing that the game is going to be over in 10 minutes, we're just going to scrub it and start again, means I'm not planning as far ahead. Whereas with Catan and Champions, I have to sit down and go, all right, what am I doing 10 turns from now? And what is the idea? What am I going for here? And I love the longer form games because they take a while, and I can really go and make my empire in Catan or my champion in Champions of Midgard my own, and I can really influence what I have for resources. Whereas games that are shorter, you tend to play more with the starting setup because you're constantly restarting, so you don't get to see the full breadth of the game as often sometimes.
Yeah, so you're generally stuck in a more standard way. There's less options. Over. I get that.
You might not see all the cards.
Yeah.
You might not. Whereas a longer form game, your odds of seeing all the cards drastically goes up, and I love that.
Trey?
I'm kind of similar, and it definitely depends on mood. But I do kind of like the games where, roughly, I'd say to give like an average time, 30 to 45 minutes are my preferred ones. Because like Champions of Midgard does go for a little longer, but it's one that interests me a lot because, like people know what Midgard is, it's the Viking way of saying Earth, and I very much am into Vikings, which we have talked about multiple times.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, so I'd say the average time length is definitely 30 to 45 minutes, but I'm always down for a game of One Night Werewolf, which is it's literally like a 10-minute game every single time.
Roughly 10 minutes.
Because it takes roughly 2 minutes to do all the roll stuff, and then 8 minutes you're supposed to have for deliberating, but we usually get through it in like 5.
Well, Dungeon Mayhem's similar.
We usually get to 5, and we're like, okay, do we vote or not? And then we're kind of discussing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's mainly just kind of screaming until we're like, okay, guys, who are we voting for?
Yeah.
We actually need to figure this out. Come on.
Yeah, because I'll look down and be like, there's 10 seconds.
Memes, screaming, panic, and then vote for the wrong person.
Yeah,
that's
and lose track of time.
Also, welcome back, Gage.
Yeah.
Everything come out okay?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't realize notifications were on.
And
I wanted to be like, Anyway,
we're welcome back, Gage, from your little break right there. We were just talking about ideal lengths for board games, how long we generally like our board games to last. We're kind of going around saying how long we personally generally like, and obviously it kind of depends on mood, but in general, how much.
Yeah, I feel like it varies based on genre. Yeah. Like if it's a role-playing game, I can definitely do a bit longer, but if it's a deception game, no matter how much I love deception games, it is very draining. So I feel like the most I could play a deception game is probably like 2 to 3 hours max.
Yeah.
And then there's other games like short rounds, like you were talking about One Night Werewolf.
Yeah.
It depends. That depends on my mood, because I can play like one round and be satisfied, or I could play for 5 hours straight and still have fun.
Yeah.
Maybe not 5 hours straight, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, the difference with that is one you played 2 hours of Catan, you played like one game.
Yeah.
You played 2 hours of Werewolf,
You
you
played
played
like
like
20.
100
Yeah.
rounds.
It's one of those things like, do you like the, I guess another way of phrasing it is, do you like the commitment of long games where you get to see a lot more payoff, things you may have not seen before? Or do you like kind of like, and there can be an in-between this too, obviously.
Yeah.
Or do you like kind of quicker, snappier sort of things where it's like you can get a lot of rounds and that can have a lot of things going on?
I personally would say overall I like shorter rounds better. Just because there's a lot more different things that can happen and there's a lot more chaos. And I feel like shorter rounds are less draining because I love Catan, but it does drain me.
Yeah.
It drains me because there's a certain point where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to kind of demolish my town. I'm just going to nuke it. And
I think that's part of the reason why I've never really like gotten super into Catan was it's not like there's a ton going on, but you still do have to think ahead. But at the same time, it's like it can go for so long.
Yeah,
And
you don't know how long it's going on for.
And individual turns can take a while.
Yeah,
which I know,
especially
also,
later in the game.
Yeah, especially later, which I know also means you're more chances to be distracted.
Yes.
Yeah. And suddenly you're like, wait, I missed it. Why? Hang on, I need to know this info. What happened? I missed something.
Yeah.
And where shorter form games, you're stuck paying attention more because it's done, my turn, done, my turn.
Yeah.
Like very quick.
The long-term games are, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the long-term games are just more, I know there's more at stake.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel a bit more, like, on edge with a lot of
Yeah,
things.
because it's go.
We've had a couple of good like long-term deck building ones where we've actually had to like stop. And we left it overnight, and then we would come back the next day to play.
Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Sentinels of the Multiverse, which I'm starting to enjoy a little more.
It's not a deck builder, but it's a long form.
It's very similar to Dungeon Mayhem with the monsters that we were just talking about. Where that one's more combat against each other, this one's more working together.
You're working together to beat the crap out of one big daddy.
With that in mind, so you lean more towards like the
probably quick snappy games.
Quicker snappy. Okay. All right. And I guess because we are into the 50-minute mark, I'll wrap up with my thoughts. Wow, that's repetitive. Anyway, so I'm kind of in a similar vein, kind of to Gage and Trejan here, and Owen in the sense that it all really depends on the mood. But in a general sense, I like kind of like the 20 to 30-minute-esque games because you get like a really good mix of. It's more generally shorter on that end, but it's also kind of can go into a bit mid.
Yeah.
But that's also because for longer form games, though I do enjoy them, it has that like looming dread in the back of my head that I'm putting a lot of effort into this and I could potentially not win, which is both good but bad. Good in the sense it's like, oh, this is really interesting, but bad in the sense I get stressed very easily in that term. So I'm like, kind of want to disconnect, but then I'm also not giving it my 100%, and then that kind of makes it not as fun for people. But again, it does depend on the mood. I would just generally say I do enjoy.
I know with longer form games, there is the potential problem of if you start lagging behind, whether it's because of dumb luck with the dice or something, you're now locked into a game where you're like, there's no way I'm winning this,
but then
I'm still kind of stuck here. So yeah, you could turn to a troll. And just
and then everybody gets mad at me.
or you have to start doing things like I'm out, I'm done, I'm gonna get up and just leave the table and stuff. But that never feels.
That
good.
always feels. It makes the people at the table who are having a good time, doing well, kind of feel a bit bad, and I feel that's kind of guilt trippy.
And that is one problem with Catan.
Yeah.
Is it's so dice dependent that if the dice just aren't coming up in your favor for whatever reason, it's just bad luck that night, the game can quickly turn sour.
Though to be fair, I think we all have the ability to handle that in a way, considering, again...
half our life is spent using dice.
Most of our stories, at least in D&D, are determined by randomly generated rolling of dice, so...
I mean, even this is kind of randomly determined by dice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of four choices.
Yeah, hi.
By one of four, we mean mainly Matt.
Yeah. I have officially hosted 66.666 repeated % of the episodes thus far.
What, it's been you and me, right?
I believe so, yes.
And then him again.
Yeah, then me again. So, I'm recusing myself officially from the role next time. We can use a D6 rather than a
I was
D8.
just thinking that would actually be kind of cool is if you get host the next.
Yeah, then you have
can't.
that way you're
You
not
can't
having
be.
constantly like, hey
Yeah.
Matt, it's your
Enforcement.
17th time in a row.
Or
just for
we
the
get to episode 100 and I've yet to be the host.
Yeah.
I actually want to host and I haven't
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
just for reference, folks at home, I'm not bitter about this or anything. It's a funny joke so
Yeah.
far. Maybe it'll keep going. Maybe
He'll be
not.
bitter in 20 episodes.
Yeah, I'll be bitter old man Matt by then.
It's kind of like that meme. It's like, Matt, it's time for you to host the podcast
Yes,
again. You're
dear.
like, yes, dear.
Yes, dears. Any further wrapping up thoughts, gents? The table is open for you.
Carcassonne is also a really good game.
Yeah,
Done.
and it doesn't, that's a good one that really is simple and doesn't quite fit any of the genre. It's not a
Indirect
deck.
competition again.
Yeah, okay, it's indirect competition, but other than that, it's not a resource management game. It's not a deck builder. It's not a.
You have cards that have a map on it, and you can connect roads and cities.
And that's kind of.
They're like
yeah.
1-inch squares, and you just connect it and make a new map.
Yep, and you earn
Interesting.
points based on how you
It's
build
actually a
things.
really fun game. It goes pretty quick. And
It's super simple,
Yeah.
but it really doesn't. It defies genre
Yeah.
almost. It's a really fun game.
Yeah.
That was a birthday present. Yeah.
And what was the name of the game just for the people at home again?
Carcassonne. Carcassonne.
Fun fact: it's based on a French valley.
Hon Baguette.
Yep.
I am part French. Don't worry.
Alright.
But cool.
I have one last thing that I'd like to
Boom.
last off on. Whatever. Board games, in terms of board games, 2 last words. Fuck Monopoly.
Yes.
Alright, guys, this has been episode.
This has been episode 3 of the podcast.
Yeah.
I do want to say yes to what Gage just said.
Yep.
Only ever had one friendly game of it myself.
Never
but
actually played it because of that reason.
Yep. I can't say Monopoly.
I like my friends.
It's more capitalist Catan for
Yes.
what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So I want to thank you all again, Trejan, Gage, Owen, of course, most importantly, Matt. Thank you for.
Oh, yeah, Matt! Woo!
Oh, thank.
That was a bit
Yeah,
loud.
yeah,
There was a
lot.
that was kind of loud. You gotta turn that down.
Oh,
Anyway,
good.
there's gonna be some editing. Anyway,
Yeah.
I want to thank
Headphone warning.
I want to thank everybody for being here once again for another talk. This has been Game Pending. Follow us on our socials. We have an Instagram at game_pending
_pod.
_pod on Instagram. We are still uploading our edited podcasts to YouTube, and we're still looking into Spotify.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Like, you have to create. I don't know. It's very
An artist
The
sort
pod.
of thing.
It's so much easier to upload music to Spotify than it is podcasts.
Yeah, I understand.
Because you have to make this weird URL sort of thing for it. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I gotta look more into it.
Yeah.
And have time to actually look.
Yeah,
into
we're
it.
still looking into it, but for right now, we have our Instagram where Trejan is posting stuff about the podcast, as well as we're still posting on YouTube. So keep an eye out, and thank you once again for listening in. This has been Game Pending, a podcast about anime, games, board games, general nerdy stuff, and perhaps we overanalyzed a bit.
Maybe.
Nothing wrong with
Only
that.
a little.
But nothing wrong with that.
Goodbye.
Have a good one.
Au revoir.
Bye.